The world is a twisted, messed up place. With so many bad things happening every day, it's no surprise that we become desensitized to it all. But sometimes we hear something so out of the ordinary, something so disturbing, that we end up looking for more depressing things on the internet. On March 24th, 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley vanished from her cruise ship cabin. A 4-day search yielded no results, and the theory she fell overboard was dismissed. A US Navy sailor later claimed he met a woman in a Barbados brothel called Amy who begged for help, but he didn't report it. It was the early morning hours on a Tuesday, 28th of March 1998. Amy Lynn Bradley went on a vacation with her family on a Caribbean cruise. When they reached the island of Curacao, her family realized that she was gone, nowhere to be found. How could she just disappear like that, off of a cruise ship? The story is shrouded to this day in theories and speculation. But who even was Amy? Why was she and her family on this cruise ship to begin with? Well, Amy was a 24-year-old college graduate in Petersburg, Virginia, and with her degree in physical education in her pocket, she decided along with her family to celebrate this achievement with a cruise ship ride, which the father won as a prize at a work competition. Amy, her father Ron, mother Iva, and younger brother Brad boarded a cruise line called Rhapsody of the Seas. The plan was to depart from San Juan, Puerto Rico on the 22nd of March. From there, they would travel to Aruba on the 23rd and arriving at Curacao on the 24th. Once at Curacao, they would travel to St. Martin, St. Thomas, with the trip ending back in St. Juan on the 28th. The trip was a week-long one, and by the sounds of it, it sounds nice. The weird thing is, Amy started getting cold feet before the trip took place, but after her family's attempts at convincing her to go, she relented. She was a trained lifeguard and a good swimmer, but this didn't seem to stop her from fearing the ocean. The family boarded the ship in St. Juan, and everything went according to plan until they were set to port in Curacao. The night before, the family enjoyed a party, with the two siblings carrying on into the early morning hours as the parents went to bed. The dad ended up checking on his children because his son Brad made some moves on a woman he didn't know was married, and seeing his son dancing and having fun, and his daughter talking to some of the crew members, he went back to bed. He woke up at around 5:30 a.m. only to find his daughter slumped over in a lounge chair on the balcony. He figured she was asleep. When he checked up on her 30 minutes later, she was gone. Thinking she was just taking a smoke, he moved on, but after searching the cruise ship for her for hours, he started to panic. She was nowhere to be found. Her sandals, clothes, and photo ID were still in her cabin, and now at the brink of panic, he asked the crew members to not let the roughly 2,000 guests off the ship until she was found, but they denied his request. The boat was docked, and a search for Amy was conducted by the Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard. The 4-day search led to no sign of Amy anywhere in the water or the ship. The cruise line said that she must have went overboard, but if that was the case, then she should have survived and swam to shore, as she was a good swimmer, but she never came forward when the boat was docked. With the help of the FBI, the family found out that she spent a lot of alone time with the ship's band, specifically with a man named Alistair Douglas, or nicknamed Yellow. Alistair was seen grabbing the legs and buttocks of Amy before her disappearance, and he told authorities that he didn't see her again after the show ended that morning before she disappeared. Something to take note of came from Amy's mother. She said that when she and her family first arrived on board, a cruise photographer took a family photo of them, but when she later tried to get the photo from the person, they were gone. There are rumors of a slavery ring operating in the Caribbean, with white female women being highly valued. Sure, this might sound far-fetched at first, but there's eyewitness accounts to substantiate the claim that she might have been abducted. The cab driver came forward and said that when the cruise ship docked, a frantic single white female approached his cab looking scared. She asked him for a phone to call someone, and thinking she was a drunk, he brushed her off and she ran away. 5 months went by, with still no sign of Amy anywhere, and here is where another witness came forward. A man named David Carmichael claimed that in August of 1998, 5 months after the cruise ship disappearance of Amy, he saw a lady being escorted by 2 men. She wanted to talk to David, but the 2 men didn't allow that, and to give this eyewitness even more credibility, he was able to describe some of Amy's distinctive tattoos. These are some of Amy's tattoos. Another sighting of Amy was reported in January 1999, almost a full year after her disappearance, and this time it was in a brothel. An eyewitness, who was a sailor in the US Navy at the time, visited a brothel in Curacao. Here, a woman approached him and said her name was Amy and she needed help. Just like the cab driver did months ago, he too brushed her off and took another woman instead. Here's where things get depressing. This incident happened 7 years ago. The man didn't report this sighting until after he retired from the Navy. In his defense, visiting brothels was and is still against US Navy regulations. Honestly, this was no excuse. To me personally, I wholeheartedly feel that if someone needs genuine help, they should break some rules to preserve life, no matter what. This lady clearly needed help and he should have helped. Anyways, another sighting of Amy were reported back in 2005 when a woman claimed to have seen someone who looked awfully similar to Amy. This person told the witness that her name was Amy and that she was from Virginia. And not long after confessing this, 3 men came barging into the restroom to escort her. Not long after this, the family of Amy received an email with a picture attached, and the sender told them that they found this picture on an adult website advertising lovemaking trips to the Caribbean. Amy was wearing lingerie in the picture, and according to her family, they could see on her face that she wasn't doing it out of her own free will. She was forced into it. The picture was sent off to be analyzed, and it came back without a shadow of a doubt that the woman was indeed Amy Lynn Bradley. With no new leads or information, the family legally declared her deceased in 2010, but they are still actively looking for her to this day, and they even have cash rewards for anyone willing to come forward with verifiable information or her location. Yeah, that is seriously depressing. When I first heard that the Navy SEAL guy didn't report the thing until 7 years later, it broke me at that point. I was like, what? Are you serious, man? Bro waited that long to report something that serious? I was just flabbergasted when I heard that. I legit had my head fall into my hands as I was writing the script and looking at the the information that I was googling and stuff and researching. It's just so sad. It's so sad that the family, that she's clearly alive. Amy is, 2010, around that area. She was clearly still alive, but they had no choice but to declare her deceased because there was no way to find her. They couldn't find her because they don't know her location, and I don't even know if they know the location of this brothel. Like, in my mind, they probably did go to this brothel where this Navy SEAL was at, and maybe the brothel closed or maybe it moved. That's why we don't hear anything about the brothel, because in my mind, of course, they would ask the Navy SEAL guy, hey, where's this brothel? And then it would be like, oh, it's on this street, on that block, on this corner. It is possible that the police did go to the place and it was still there, but then Amy wasn't there anymore. She was probably moved, which, like the person who sent the photo with the email said that they found this photo of her in lingerie on adult websites. So perhaps she did work in the brothel for a few years and then she was moved and she was working on a adult website now, which is freaking horrible. That's so sad. And who knows, she still could be alive to this day. Much older, of course, because it's like 14 years since 2010. So no, 15 years about. So it's horrible. It's horrible knowing that your daughter is still alive, but you don't know where she is. You know she's working in slavery. She's basically a slave. She's basically doing horrible things that she gives no consent to. And it really is depressing. It is very depressing and very horrible. And I'm sorry that Amy, went through those things and probably still is. I hope that one day she will be found and brought back to her family and helped, because that is so horrible. On the 8th of August 2013, a 26-year-old man named Brandon Lawson came home to his girlfriend, Ladessa Lofton, and their 4 kids in San Angelo, Texas. He was gone from home a full day and night at this point, and an argument soon erupted, with Ladessa suspecting that Brandon had been using substances again. Brandon used to be a methamphetamine, oh my goodness, what a word is that? Methamphetamine? Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Methamphetamine addict, but he got clean 6 months prior. With the argument reaching its boiling point, Brandon got into his silver Ford F-150 and sped down Route 277 to his dad's house in Crowley, Texas. Oh, is that a Nick Crowley reference? Okay, yeah, it's a serious video. I'm sorry if I'm making a little bit of a joke there, but when I first saw Crowley, I immediately thought Nick Crowley. If you know, you know. To reach his dad's house, it would take him roughly 3 hours, but an hour into the drive, he ran out of gas and was left stranded next to the road. Here's where a seemingly ordinary set of events turn weird. The first person he called was his brother Kyle. Brandon told him where he was and that he was being chased out of town by the Mexicans in the neighborhood. Kyle thought Brandon was having an hallucination from substance-induced psychosis. Brandon told him no, it was true. So Kyle got up and took his wife and child with him and some gas to the location of Brandon. Before we go further, I just want to say that seems like such a very dumb idea. Very, very, very horribly dumb idea. This person, your brother is telling you that he's being chased by Mexicans which probably have guns and stuff on them and knives. And he's like, oh, I'm going to take my wife and I'm going to take my child. Two things that will be, that will have their lives ended very easily and done horrible things to. And he's like, oh, I'm going to take them with me. Like, what? No, you don't. You do not. You do not. I repeat, you do not take your wife or your child to such horribly dangerous situations. Okay? You don't do that. That is very complacent. That is no, you don't do that. Okay? So yeah, anyways, let's continue. I just wanted to add that little bit there. With Kyle on his way, Brandon called the police, telling them, I'm in the middle of a field. There's one car here. The guy's chasing me in the woods. Please hurry. An officer was dispatched to Brandon's location, and while on the phone with the operator, he made strange and alarming comments, like he was talking to someone else with him. He hung up the phone and made a few more calls to his brother, his girlfriend Ladessa, and their neighbor. When he called his brother, he told him that he was bleeding, but didn't give much information other than that. The police arrived at the location not soon after, but Brandon was gone. His car was still there, but he wasn't. Not long after the police arrived, his brother did, and now with the police next to him, he called his brother's phone and he answered. Brandon said that he was right there and could see them, but they couldn't see him. At this point in time, Brandon had a warrant out for his arrest, and thinking he was nearby in the woods scared to be arrested, his brother got into his car and parked a distance away, while the police officers left the area. Brandon didn't come out of the woods. Kyle decided to head home, leaving a gas canister full of gas next to Brandon's vehicle. A few hours later, Kyle returned to the area, hoping his brother came out and drove off, but the car was still there. The gas was still there, just the way it was when Kyle left hours earlier. The car was eventually towed away, and Brandon Lawson was never heard of or seen again. So, what happened to Brandon? Did Mexicans in the area chase him? Is he deceased? Was this a murder? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Brandon was said to be stressed at the time, and his life was very demanding, having a job, a girlfriend he lives with, and 4 children, one of which wasn't his own and was from her side from a previous relationship. The day before his disappearance on the fateful night of August 8th, he called his brother Kyle and asked him if he knew where he could buy some substances. It seems that Brandon did end up finding some, which led to him being away from home for 24 hours, which would have been the 7th up until the 8th. And when he did come home on the 8th, the argument between him and Ladessa began, and the rest is history, literally. She had a feeling he was using substances, and he fully denied it. A search was conducted in the area where Brandon went missing, and they even used a helicopter, but they couldn't find any sign of him. An investigation soon followed of his movements before his disappearance, and Brandon withdrew funds from his 401k, although his family doesn't see this as strange. In early 2022, roughly 8 years after Brandon's disappearance, a new lead came in. Pieces of clothing was found near the location where Brandon went missing, as well as human remains. Due to the exposure the remains had to endure, it's been difficult ever since to determine if it's indeed Brandon's or not, but the clothing were identified as belonging to him. Okay, so this one is very sad and very disturbing because the fact that Brandon said that he was being chased by Mexican people, it very much sounds to me like Brandon did get some substances. He did end up finding some after calling his brother Kyle. And perhaps he went to a few Mexican people for that. Of course, he could have went to other people as well. But because we do have Mexicans mentioned here, it seems, and they chasing him, it seems to imply that he got the substances at these people and maybe they were owing him money or something, which is why he was trying to, or not trying, he did withdraw money from his 401k, which I'm not sure what that is. I think it's an American thing. I don't know what the 401k is. I will put up something on the screen at this point to explain what a 401k is. It says that he withdrew money from that, which means that he probably needed substance money. He probably owed the Mexican people the money, right? And then got the substances and was like, okay, I'll be back. I'll be back, guys. I'll go withdraw money. And then he wanted to go withdraw money, but then the Mexican people got fed up of waiting for him. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna end your life now, buddy. We can't wait for you the whole day, man. We're impatient, we want our money. So they probably ended his life due to that and then took the money. Of course, they took the money because there was no mention of the money if it was ever found, this 401k money that he took. So I'm guessing the Mexican people took the money, took his life, and basically left him there in the woods, which is, it's very horrible. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, then tap the like button and share with others you think might be interested as well. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts and opinions and subscribe to soothe that fascination.